In Shine School, I always say you're only as strong as your self-talk. So if your inner negative Nancy is firing up, then your confidence is probably gonna be lacking. So in this episode, Chris and I are gonna share our 2 simple tricks to help you put an end to the negative self-talk. Hey, we're Britt and Chris Carmichael, and you're listening to the Elevated Life Podcast. Throughout the 13 years we've been together, we've never ceased in our endless quest to better ourselves.
We've studied top experts, philosophers, and gurus. After years of personal self-experimentation, we found the tools for shifting your beliefs, moving through fears, and developing a positive mindset.
If you're ready for a breakthrough, then you're in the right place, because we're here to empower you to take control of your life with simple mindset shifts that create radical transformation.
We'll be diving into topics like personal growth, health, philosophy, spirituality, relationships, success, and mindfulness.
So create some space for yourself and get comfy. It's time to become the badass you were born to be. So I'll never forget the time when Chris asked, "Do you talk to yourself?" I replied, "No." And what I didn't realize in the moment is that I was constantly talking to myself, but I had no awareness of it. And so when he asked me that, I think it sent me on this journey of like really starting to uncover that we have this whole inner world and dialogue with ourselves. It's kind of like the first time I went to a chiropractor. I had no idea I was just in pain, but the more I started going and seeing a chiropractor and getting my spine adjusted in certain places, I could feel the energy moving from my spine all the way up and down from my skull. It was crazy. Like I had a deeper awareness of my body. I knew when things were out. And so it's kind of the same with our self-talk and our confidence. If we don't know that we're shit-talking ourselves, then our confidence is going to be lacking and we won't understand why we feel negatively about our self-worth.
You know, it makes me wonder how much of our lives do we basically sleep through? Like how much are we not even, do we not even know? Like what happens? What happens in our internal dialogue? What happens in our dream states? It's almost like there's so much of the regular world that we miss. And I think oftentimes we miss it because we think so much. We're always on this thinking mode. And so because we're always thinking, we're not always like noticing what's really going on around us. And it's interesting to think that we have a mistaken idea that everybody lives the same life. In other words, we all think the same thoughts, we all feel the same way about certain things, but when you really start to get to know people, that's not the case at all. And so one of the things that we found successful people do, are people that are happier in their lives, is that they talk about themselves in a way that inspires them. It's a way that motivates them. It's a way that gets them to jump out of bed in the morning and really go sit on those goals that they have and say, man, I'm going to take charge of this and I'm going to do something today. And then if you look at the people who have more negative lives, who feel more depressed, who aren't as excited about things as they could be, and they're not really attracting opportunities, and they feel that everyone else is just lucky, but they're just never going to catch their break. Those people are a lot of times talking negatively about themselves. They have this story that they repeat in their head about what's possible, about what they can and cannot do, about what they may or may not achieve, or what they may or may not deserve, or how good they look. And so it's this story that we tell ourselves that really ends up shaping all of the events around us.
Yeah, you really want to pay attention to what people are attracting into their life, and you can tell by the way that they speak. If you just for a moment start listening to what other people say to you, you'll realize if they're framing the conversation negatively, like, man, this is horrible, this is happening to me, I don't like this, blah, blah, blah. Or if they paint the picture in a positive light where it's like talking about, I'm excited of this and this is happening and I look forward to these cool things happening. I mean, those are 2 totally different vibes that can, the same person can give off either one. And what most people have forgotten is that you have a choice, and positivity takes a little bit less effort and energy, in my opinion, than choosing fear-based thoughts.
Yeah, I think that the difference is, though, a lot of the times when we have fear-based thoughts, they were given to us by someone else. And maybe it was our parents in the beginning trying to protect us. Like, no, don't. Like, how many times you think as a kid you heard the word no? Like, don't do that. Stop doing that. Don't go over there. Don't go do this. Don't go. So we hear no and no and no and no all the time. And so I think what we end up doing is sort of accepting the other person's agenda for us. And so we don't really think for ourselves a lot of times. A lot of what we do is adapt other people's thoughts and then use them as our belief system. And so if you haven't updated your belief system in a while, now's a great opportunity to do that.
Now's the time.
Yeah, and if you haven't started started even noticing it, we're going to bring you our first tip right here. And that is a 24-hour review or a 24-hour awareness of what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're saying to yourself in your head, and what are the words that are starting to come out of your mouth.
Yeah, this was so powerful. When Chris asked, like, do you talk to yourself? It really led me on this awareness journey of like, do I talk to myself? I wonder what he said. I'm literally talking to myself, wondering if I talk to myself. Only in hindsight can I laugh about it now and realize that I was literally doing that. But what my awareness check, reality check showed me is that my inner self-talk really flared up negatively when it came to my body image, or when I was getting ready and, having to try on clothes, or it really was a negative story around self-image. And that was where I was putting all my worth and confidence. And I realized that it was me talking trash the whole time. Chris was telling me that I'm a beautiful goddess, and I'm over here saying I'm too fat, I'm not good enough, this doesn't look right, blah, blah, blah. And so it's just really interesting to see where the awareness of that negative self-talk, is it around a certain area? Is it literally everything? And you're like, oh gosh, this is so draining. Or, is it just in one area? I speak positively while I'm at work, but when I'm at home with my partner, or in just social settings in general, I feel like people are going to judge me. This is going to, this isn't easy work. This is going to cause a little bit of frustration. And I don't know, like, what are some of the other words that would come up that would describe, like, like having to accept some of those dark parts
anger.
of yourself.
I think it brings up a lot of anger, and I think the biggest part of the anger that it brings up is like, how long have I been living like this? Like, I could have changed this, and we have to do a quick forgiveness for ourselves, and we have to forgive ourselves for mistakes that we've made, or beliefs that we've held on too long, because a lot of times we only change beliefs that we're aware of. It's impossible for us to change beliefs that we don't see. So a lot of times the self-talk is going to be this blinder mode that you're not really noticing. It's kind of sitting behind you on your shoulder, and it's loud enough that you respect it, but it's quiet enough that you don't notice it. And so what you want to be able to do is to spend a whole day, and it has to be so intentional, because it's easy to get distracted, and so you have to be super focused on this, and so you mean to. So for me, whenever I do this exercise, I like to set a bunch of reminders, because I'm going to have to come back to it. I'm going to forget. So it's going to be maybe a reminder every hour, a reminder every 90 minutes, just to, check back in. What am I talking to myself about? Because like Britt mentioned, a lot of times with ourselves and other people, what you'll notice is that we're really confident in certain areas. There may be something that you're great at. I can think of people who are awesome at sales. If they go into a room, they can make the sale. It doesn't matter who they're sitting across or what they're selling, it's them. But take them to karaoke, nothing's happening. The same person clams up. They're out in the parking lot waiting with their tail between their legs. It's just, we're going to have certain strengths that we have. We're also going to have certain weaknesses. And so the goal of this is to figure out, where are you limiting yourself, where it's making you weaker. Like with Britt with the self-body image, but maybe for you it's public speaking. You have to find out what that is and notice yourself doing it, because without that awareness, it's going to be impossible to move on to the next level. It's still going to stay in that blind spot.
Ultimately, awareness is enlightenment, just being able to perceive on all planes. And so this is going to be, okay, Grasshopper, this is your first test. This is really about creating that focus in your mind. That's why we meditate. That's why we do these practices, to help create concentration and focus, so that we can be in control. Like Chris says, like, our mind will wander, and in time you can gain that sense of control of like where your mind goes, and they say what you focus on, or where your mind goes, energy flows. And so this is really about creating that channel of focus and figuring out, where am I putting effort and energy into the thoughts and the feelings that I have that are creating my life. And you'll find, like Chris said, there are certain areas that maybe you are beating yourself up and it's just you. And that was what I realized in this reality check, was it's been me the whole time. Like, I've been the one beating myself up. Nobody else is coming in here talking crap while I'm getting dressed in the closet but me. And I'm creating my own suffering. And as Chris said, forgiveness is really what's going to be necessary for when the negative stuff comes up. Now, the second thing that you can do is reframe. So notice where the negative is, and then choose to replace it with something positive. So for me, I noticed that the negative story I was telling myself was, I'm fat. So anytime I walked into a room, I presented myself with this fear and feeling of, I'm fat, people are judging me. And it would put a barrier in between the deep connections you can make with people if you just show up as your authentic self. And so to reframe, I had to change it into a statement that made me feel empowered and beautiful. And so that's just what it was, is no, I am beautiful. Not I am fat, or I'm too skinny, or I'm this, or dimples, or that, or blah, blah, blah. It was, I am beautiful. And it felt uncomfortable in the beginning, just as, any kind of new habit will. But what's really sad is that being negative to yourself is what feels comfortable.
It's easy to stay in a loop. All thoughts end up becoming loops. And what you have to be careful of with all of this, or what you have to be watchful for, is that a lot of times we won't notice when it becomes words or when it becomes images. And so our brain responds to images. It takes the words that we say, or what we say to ourselves, and it converts them into an image, and then that image is what we end up accepting. How you communicate with your mind is through images. So a lot of times what you'll have to be careful of with your self-talk is, what image are you making in your mind? Being able to see that visualization and being able to be extremely clear on exactly what that is will allow you to make changes. And so what Britt's talking about, it's not only something where she can say, I'm beautiful, and then that's the end of the story. Because you won't feel it. You won't emotionalize it. And so your body and your mind will not accept it. It has to be excited. It has to go, yes, this is the truth. This is for me. It has to be really, really pumped up. And so you need to start changing how you're going to end up making images in your mind as well. Self-talk is just a one slant thing. It's just one category of this. At the same time, you need to also be working on the image. They combine together to create this powerhouse. But if you miss one of them, the other one will override it. So in other words, if you just change the self-talk, but you imagine yourself being a specific way that doesn't align with that,
like the affirmation won't work.
The affirmation will just cancels it right out. And also, if you're going to picture yourself fantastic and wonderful and living this life and doing all these things, but at the same time you're going to talk negatively about yourself, guess what happens? Cancels each other out. And so what you get is nothing but a lot of wasted effort. And so you have to align the two of them. This is like such an important bonus step. It's making sure that both of them align together, so that what you're saying and then also what you're picturing are the exact same thing, so that when you go out into the world, that's not only how you present yourself, because a lot of people say fake it till you make it, right? You hear that a lot. But what they really want you to do is not to fake it, is that once you make the image in your mind and once you say it to yourself, no matter what those two things are, whether they're true or not, you eventually start to believe it, because your mind doesn't really know what's true. It only knows what the feed is. It only knows what you're giving it all the time. And so if you'll say the right things to yourself and at the same time make the right pictures, you can start to believe whatever it is that you want, and that way you won't have to fake it. It will be who you think you are. And so a lot of us haven't updated these things. A lot of us still have past ideas from our boyfriends or girlfriends, from our parents, from our teachers, from people who didn't know about how we would evolve, people who didn't know what kind of struggles we'd go through or what kind of obstacles we would need to overcome. They didn't know that. They were only judging based on what they'd gone through or what their parents told them. And so we have to update all of these. When they get locked in and when they get stored, when you're in that emotional experience where someone's yelling at you or extremely praising you, when that gets locked in, it doesn't get updated until you willfully do it. So you'll be on that automation program. So it's really important to spend a day or even a week-long intensive on making sure that you are fully updated in the belief system, that you are saying the things about yourself that you want to come true. When you do this exercise, you have to be thinking of, would I say this if everything that came out of my mouth or every thought that I had, I knew would come true? Would I still say it? Would I still let that happen? Because if you're like, oh, I'm ugly, then if that's going to come true, you're manifesting it. And so if you can pretend for a little while that whatever it is that you're going to say is going to really be the delivery thing, and that this is going to come true, you'll start to respect what it is that you say and not just let anything come out of your mouth.
Abracadabra, baby. Yeah. So, visualization is one of the most powerful manifesting tools that you have. Your imagination is the thing. It's the ticket. It's the key. So children are, such magical little beings because they still are tapped into their imagination. That's why they still have fun and playfulness and creativity and freedom and abandonment. It's so wonderful to see. And we as adults have to embody and cultivate that. It's a choice that we have to make. We can either play the game and check all the boxes and subscribe to stress and anxiety, or we can choose to see life differently and be our own cheerleader and begin to love ourselves and letting life be easy. I mean, life is going to be hard enough, but let's not make it harder on ourselves because we're the ones doing it. And it really starts with that, the way that you talk to yourself and making sure that it's positive. So this 24-hour review should be done every 24 hours.
Yeah, and always becoming aware and always using these mindfulness practices will allow you really to live in that present moment. Because what you realize is when we talk about self-talk and when we talk about images, all those are only thoughts. And when you're relaxed and when you're in the present moment, what ends up happening is this thoughts start to kind of fade away. They just don't really exist as much because what you're typically doing is just noticing. And this noticing, you're noticing the beauty in the moment, you're noticing the joy in the moment, you're noticing what the experience is, you're noticing the other people that are sitting across from you and the connection that you're having instead of being focused on what it is that they might be thinking about you. Because when you break it down, most people aren't thinking about you. It's like we're all kind of narcissists. We all think, that the whole, all the planets revolve around just us and, we're the kings here. But it's not true. And not in that respect, at least. What you can do is you can start to realize that you are the creator of so much of your life. So much of how you're living and so much of what you're doing is in the way that you talk and the way that you think about yourself and the way you think about what's happening around you and in your life. And being able to change that is going to take some dedication. It's going to take you challenging old beliefs that said, well, it can't be that easy. Suspend that belief for just a moment and just give it a try.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about, is let it be easy. If we have this belief that it's going to be hard, we are sure as shit going to manifest that, and you're going to prove yourself right. That's why everyone who worries or has anxiety, they're like, see, look, I told you so. Yeah, I know. Just like Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. I mean, he's essentially saying what you focus on or what you choose to believe in is what you experience. So why not believe in the best? Why not visualize the best version of yourself, living a life that is filled with joy and fun and ease and play? Isn't that what we want, right? Isn't that what we all want?
That's what we want. And the cool thing about this is, especially if you're a parent or if you're someone that has some good close friends, you can notice a lot of times what the people around you are also doing. Once you get awareness of what you're doing, what other people are doing comes quite easy because they'll tell you. They'll come out and say things, and you'll have an awareness about them that will let you know how they're feeling about themselves. And as a friend or a mentor or a parent, it's so much better to be able to reach that person where they're standing. Because a lot of times when we're going through our down times, other people don't get it. They don't see where we are because they're just focused on where they are. And once you acquire this skill where you can really start to listen and understand what's going on deeper down inside someone, you can be more of a friend. You can send more love to them, and you can understand when it is that they're going to need that. And then also times where you can pull back and just kind of relax a little bit with your friend. This will give you a new kind of, I think it's really profound to be able to listen to somebody and say, oh, that's where they are. I now understand you. Let me support you. Let me be here for you. And to communicate that to them so that they feel heard, they feel understood, and they feel like they have someone that's out there who's got their back, who is ready to go into battle with them and say, it's okay, life's going to be good, it's all right.
I know. That's why I love supporting the elevators inside the club and really getting a peek into the way that they think and that they operate, because, we are doing the group coaching sessions where we interact and we can engage. And it's so interesting that I have found when we do this work, especially, this month talking about visualization, I find it really fascinating that just one word, one small word, or if they just rearrange that word in a sentence, makes all the difference in manifesting what they want versus what they don't want.
Yeah, there's so much that you can do to bring your desires faster to you, and there's a lot of little tricks that if you don't do them right, what you end up doing is bring so much of the disaster into your life and the chaos, and you're like, what? Why didn't this work? I read The Secret, and I where's my Ferrari? Where's it at? And there are tricks to this. There are ways to use your brain to attract things that you really need in your life and that you really want and desire. And, that's a lot about helping your family. That's about spreading good in the world. That's about being who you really want to be instead of maybe who you've played in the past. And being able to manifest and being able to visualize is really that superhero power that a lot of us tend to overlook because we don't realize how powerful it is, because we're always doing it. It's the same way that a lot of people skip over breath work and meditation work because there's no way me sitting down and breathing for a while is going to do anything. When you logically think about it, there's just no way. But then you actually practice it and you're like, oh my gosh, my whole life just changed. I cannot believe I feel this way right now. I can't believe how relaxed I am. I can't believe what it's like to not have so much cortisol and stress going through my body, the lack of adrenaline, where I'm just peaceful and just being. And so we miss out on how easy it can be to manifest because a lot of times our fears stand in the way. And again, it's more thoughts. It's just more thoughts. Manifesting and visualization are easy techniques that most of us do wrong.
Oh, I love talking about this conversation, and all the elevators obviously do too, because they are making massive changes in their life now that they've just tweaked, the vision, the words, and the belief and attitude behind it, all of that aligned. You become a magnet for miracles.
So make a decision today. Decide that you're going to be your own cheerleader. Decide that when you march into battle, you're going to be the one with the flag riding on the horse, that you are that hero in your life.
Whoop, whoop.
It will all start with what you say to yourself, and it will continue with what you imagine. Start today and do something incredible. We'll catch you in the next one.
Peace. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Elevated Life Podcast. Want more? Join us at theelevatedlifeclub.com for mindset upgrades, lifestyle hacks, and spiritual tools to elevate your soul.
Each month features a new masterclass, meditation, yoga practice, and more to help you transform your life one step at a time.
Come join the 7 or Above Club.